Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. The following interview is designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Stop wasting money on marketing and only do marketing that works. Order your copy of Don't Buy a Duck today. If you've ever felt lost, in need of a roadmap, if you ever wanted to get the right folks in the door and dollars in the drawer, you've opened the right book. Order your copy at www.don'tbuyaduck.com today. That's don'tbuyaduck.com. And now, let's begin today's Leadership Series interview.
Welcome to the Business Leadership Series, where our goal is to inspire you to become the best leader that you can be. We had a great guest on last week, Sean Keith, who is the co-founder of Keith, Miller, Butler, Schneider, and Pawlik, a great full-service law firm based out of Northwest Arkansas, also located in Fayetteville, but also has a footprint across the United States. Sean, thank you for being our guest again today. And let's get right back into the second half of our interview. I wanted to ask you, how do you deal with setbacks or with failure? What do you learn from those experiences in your personal and professional life?
Setbacks are never difficult for anybody. I think they may be more difficult for very competitive leader type people. And probably what separates some of the great leaders from the rest of the leaders is how they deal with setbacks. I lost a case about 6 years ago that I feel to this day I shouldn't have lost. I feel like we proved what we needed to prove. I didn't feel bad for my performance. I felt like I worked as hard as I could have and did a great job. I just happened to disagree with the jury, which happens sometimes. You know, what separates the great leaders from the just leaders are how they deal with setbacks. A few years ago, I lost a case that to this day I don't feel like I should have lost. I feel like we proved our case. I feel like that I did my job and I did it well. I feel like my client did her job, and I just disagree with the jury, and that happens sometimes in our business. It was a medical negligence case, and as I was driving back, it was in another part of the state, and as I was driving back, I kind of realized that maybe, obviously I was down about the case, but maybe this was an opportunity for me to look at other areas of law, and I'd been practicing in this particular area for a long time, and maybe it was an opportunity, and that's what happened. None of us like setbacks. I don't like losing. If you're scared to lose, you're never going to be successful. I think that's one of the most important lessons that I've had to beat into my head over and over again. You're going to lose. And my dad, who was a judge and who was a public defender, he learned about losing. But if you're going to be scared to lose, you're never going to reach any kind of success. And in my line of work, I've got to turn over all the control of the decision ultimately to 12 people that I only met a few days or a week ago. And that's a difficult thing. And it's set up to be a difficult thing. That's why that a lot of cases settle. But sometimes there's cases where they're not being reasonable on the other side, and you have to go trust. Sometimes it's easy. Early in my career, in fact, the only verdict I have framed and on my wall, I represented a man who had been misdiagnosed with cancer and had received chemotherapy for 2 years as a result of the misdiagnosis. Wow. They offered us 0 in that case. So it was a pretty easy decision for me. We're going to go try this case. And I did turn it over, and the jury returned a substantial verdict. Obviously, it wasn't a slam dunk like it sounds, or they would have offered more than 0. There were some issues with it, but back to the point of how to deal with setbacks, you got to be honest with yourself. You have to evaluate yourself. When the rubber hits the road, or when you check in the mirror yourself, could I have worked harder? Did I skate by on some things? In my line of work, did I talk to that witness? Did I really fully prepare for that witness? Did I practice my opening enough? You have to really do some self-evaluation, because sometimes we don't. But if you do the self-evaluation, and a lot of times there's going to be 2 or 3 things we can change. But if you've done the self-evaluation, sometimes it's just a matter of, this is life, and we get handed defeats, and we have to, what are you going to do? Are you going to lay around? Are you going to wallow? But I've seen it before with attorneys, and I've talked to attorneys, and I've had what we talked about earlier, those hard discussions of, I don't think you prepared enough. That's a tough conversation to have. You're patting them on the back at the same time as you're kicking them in the butt. And you got to do that with yourself. Certainly I think, as a lot of us are sometimes our own worst critic. But you have to be honest with yourself both ways, both in criticizing, but also giving ourselves credit for what we do well. But dealing with setbacks is one of those things that I just, hopefully it doesn't hurt me too long financially. Hopefully it doesn't hurt my family too long financially. Knowing that I've done the best job that I can, and if I haven't, then changing that going forward. That's kind of how, and in my world, I want that client to know that case I lost, my client couldn't have been more proud of me. And that was personally gratifying, because she didn't, until she got in there at the courtroom with me for 2 weeks, she really didn't know what she had. And she would tell you that. And even though we lost, she was very proud of the representation I gave her and her husband, deceased husband.
So Sean, tell me, what is the most rewarding part about what you do?
That is a really difficult question, because there are a lot of different things that I find rewarding. I genuinely find working with my assistant rewarding. The relationship I have with her and with my associates who are young lawyers, and teaching them things, and then them teaching me things, and doing a good job that makes me proud of us, because we work a lot with attorneys across the country, and there's always this, you want to show your best. You want those attorneys to know, hey, if we call Sean Keith in Arkansas, that we're getting top quality that we would get in Philadelphia or San Francisco or New York or anywhere else. And that is extremely rewarding, because we put out that kind of product. The relationships that I have with my clients, the most rewarding thing I do, so a lot of what I do right now is I'm involved in this national bladder sling litigation across the country. And the judge will release 200 cases at a time to be worked up for trial. And other attorneys will have these cases, and eventually they lead to me, because they want to send somebody in that can really get. Some attorneys are good at certain things and some are not. These cases lead to me, and they'll refer the cases to me, and I'll go in and meet a client first time and spend the next 6 to 8 hours talking to them about the most personal aspects of their life and their marriage or their relationships, and get them prepared for a deposition. And then go back 3 weeks later and they'll give a deposition. And one of the most rewarding things to me is that within a couple of meetings, I can have such a relationship with a person that they trust me, that I'm doing what is in their best interest, and that they trust that I am getting them prepared for anybody to give a deposition. And in particular, when you're talking about the bladder sling litigation, which is the pelvic area, which is, it's all women. It is the most personal questions, the most personal aspects. And to feel like, they know I'm genuine and they see that, and they trust me to walk them through this, that is very, very rewarding. I always feel good about that. And so my relationships with my clients, I think relationships in general, we all like the money, right? We don't do this for free. We all like the money, but ultimately it's those relationships that really, really have a rewarding impact. I keep a postcard on my desk of a quote, and it's from, of all people, David Letterman. And this has been on my desk for about 5 years or maybe longer now. And he said, "I have found that the only thing that does bring you happiness is doing something good for somebody who is incapable of doing it for themselves." And so that's kind of what I feel when I'm getting my clients prepared. They're scared to death, but they're willing to go on this, trust me to take them through this journey. The other quote that I used to always keep during college and law school is from the title of that book, "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff, and It's All Small Stuff." Both of those I think are good quotes, and I think about it because sometimes we get a little carried away with our world and everything's crashing down, but it's really not. You're going to get through today. Tomorrow's always coming.
Sean, thanks for sharing that. I truly appreciate you being our guest on these past couple podcasts. Learned a lot from you. I know our listeners are going to get great value in hearing your wisdom and learning more about your business. Our listeners can visit arkattorneys.com to learn more about Sean, learn more about his great practice, Keith, Miller, Butler, Schneider, and Pawlik. Sean, thanks again for being our guest, and you have a great day.
You've been listening to the Business Leadership Series, where we engage with leaders who are making an impact on their worlds and who want to share their knowledge and experience for your personal and professional growth. This interview was designed to inspire you to become the best leader you can be. Take a 5-minute complimentary marketing assessment for your business. Whether you're a startup or an established brand looking for more quality customers for your business, this confidential assessment will help you identify the next logical steps for appropriate marketing tools, strategy, and development for making sure your branding and marketing campaign is a success. Visit assessmymarketing.com today. That's assessmymarketing.com.